friends, welcome back to the Marketing Nomad YouTube channel. Today we're doing a tarot deck review, and the deck that I have for you is the Tarot Disassembled by Jennifer Steidley. Now, this particular deck was kindly gifted to me by Weiser, and I just wanted to say a very big thank you to them for sending this deck over for me to review. Now, what you can expect in today's tarot deck review is, of course, I'm going to be changing the camera angle. We're going to be looking at the cards. We're also going to be talking about my experience with using this particular deck, my thoughts about this deck. This is a very unique deck, and I've got so much to share with you about that as well. All right, and before we get into the review part of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the back of this deck, and then I'll change the camera angle. All right, so here goes. With a bright color palette and bold graphics, this unique deck deconstructs and re-examines the traditional symbolism found in the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, opening the door for fresh insight into a classic. Tarot Disassembled allows the user to connect with the tarot in a completely intuitive way, free from any pictorial narrative around gender, skin color, age, size, ability, or any other human constructs. This simplicity of the symbols makes it a great first deck for beginners, and pros will enjoy unpeeling the traditional tarot like an onion. I find this very true. Discovering layer upon layer of meaning in the richness of simple imagery. Now, this is by Weiser. They are the publishers of this particular deck, all right? I can't wait to get into the review of this very different, very unique deck. I gotta say, my experience with connecting with this deck has been so eye-opening. I've absolutely enjoyed connecting with this deck, and I can't wait to share that with you as well, all right? So just give me a second. I'm gonna change the camera angle in just a little bit. So this is what the box looks like. And inside you have the 78 full color cards. Now, as you can see from the back as well as the sides of the cards, there are very bold colors used in this particular deck, which I absolutely loved. To be honest with you, I think that the colors in this particular deck are so eye-catching, and the colors by themselves have their own energy. And I have loved to kind of interpret the color of the cards along with the meaning of the cards, and that, just as a personal experience, has been really nice for me. Now, the cards are printed on very high quality cardstock. This is smooth matte finish, and it's very sturdy to shuffle as well. I would say for frequent use, this is definitely in alignment with that. I've used it quite a bit in the last 6 weeks of me having this particular deck, and it still looks as good as new. So I think that this is a very sturdy cardstock, and it can hold for frequent use as well. Now, one thing that I really liked about this particular tarot deck is innovation, you know? I think that Jennifer Steidley has done a fantastic job of kind of breaking down the symbols of each tarot card, and she's done it so well, so brilliant, so talented. What I have understood from this particular deck is that this unique arrangement of the symbols, all right, it's very abstract, it's very minimalist, and for me in particular, as I was connecting with this deck, I found myself kind of focusing on one or two elements per reading. And so that actually gave me such a wide spread of interpretations for the same card for multiple readings. And that's something that it absolutely blew my mind. And it's not just that, you know, it is the symbolism that's broken down into these abstract elements, but at the same time, it's also how you interpret it as a reader as well. How does it connect to your life? What does that symbol give you meaning? And while you do notice some of the symbols in the RWS, the traditional deck, this one, I feel, kind of makes sure that the elements are on their own. So there is an individual relationship that you build with each of the elements that are there in this particular card. And another thing that I really liked about this particular tarot deck is each of the elements, there's enough space between them. And so when you're looking at the card, you're not overwhelmed by the amount of symbols that are there. I think that there is enough space between the elements so that you can actually look at one particular element, focus on it, and then move on to the next. I would say that this amount of simplicity in the design, I mean, it's intricate, but it's also, keeping in mind the visual ease. And that's something that I really, really liked about the artwork in this particular deck. And for me, I think that this is just such a fresh approach. It is just a fresh approach, and it's different. The way that you interpret individual symbols and the way that you interpret the symbols as part of the traditional RWS deck is actually very, very different. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me as I was connecting with this particular deck. It's a very curious deck. That is, I guess, something that I would call this deck. It's a very, very curious deck. And to me, it felt like I was learning a new language, because even though I'm very, very familiar with the traditional RWS tarot deck and the symbolism in that, to have them spread out, each of those symbols, or even the meaning of that card interpreted as symbols in this particular tarot deck. Oh, it was so beautiful because first off, it is so beautifully designed. All right. And it encompasses the entire meaning of the card in the symbols that are designed on it. And that for me was, I found it so clean, so modern, and I connected very well with each of the cards. Like I mentioned before, each time I used this particular card, for example, the same card came out, it would be a different interpretation because my mind would focus on a completely different symbol. And I think that that's also another thing that I would give kudos to this tarot deck, is that it's not just the RWS symbolism that comes through, it's a lot about your own interpretation of it as well. And so I think that that also helps with building a connection, building a relationship with this particular tarot deck. Now, for me, I think that this is a good deck if you want to connect with your inner dialogue, because a lot of the symbols that come through, it's your interpretation of it, right? So if you are looking for a deck that, for example, you want to connect deeper with your intuition, or you want to connect deeper with your subconscious, or even your higher self, I would recommend this particular deck because it just gets that inner dialogue flowing within you, and it unlocks that part of you that connects with the symbol, and that's where your subconscious flows. So that is something that I particularly found very, very helpful with this deck. Also, the colors used in this particular deck, I would say that it is very, very aligned. I think that the colors are bold, the colors are just out there, and in contrast with the symbol colors, I think that it provides a very, I would say, a soothing, but at the same time, it kind of puts you in an energy to receive those messages. I think the colors really do help with that, the bold colors. It's soothing, yes, but it's also kind of, given that it's bold, it kind of puts you in the state to receive the messages that are coming through as well. So I, in particular, liked the design of this particular deck, whether it's the back cover or even the individual artworks on each of the tarot decks. Now, I would say that this deck is both for beginners as well as experienced users. For beginners, I would say if you are familiar with the RWS symbolism and you kind of want to do a deep dive, you want to study more, this deck is a great one for you to dig deeper into the symbolism. And if you are kind of into symbolism, you really want to learn more, this can help you get in depth. So it doesn't matter if you're an experienced user or even a beginner user, I would say that this deck will be very, very helpful. If you are a teacher, like you're teaching tarot, this deck also would be helpful for you because, like I said, this one breaks down every bit of symbolism every bit of element that is there in the RWS traditional tarot deck. And that, if you're teaching it, just having the elements spread out, yeah, it might be helpful for you to teach. It might be helpful for your students to learn as well. So that is one additional point that I would put. Another thing that I would put is if you are an experienced reader and you're looking to connect deeper to your intuition, this deck is a good one. And for beginners, I would say that if you start focusing on one element, finish your connection with that element on the tarot deck, or the tarot card, and then move on to the next element. That helps you get that flow. I have used this particular deck for about 6 weeks now, and I've used it in about 10 collective readings. I've also used it for private readings. I've also used it for client readings. And for me in particular, one thing that I have found with this deck is that it is quite blunt. It is quite blunt in its messages because the symbols are right there, and it's just about your interpretation. So everything's out there. So if you're kind of struggling with things being hidden from you, or you're kind of struggling to find answers, I would again recommend this particular deck because just of how forthcoming the energy of this particular deck is. All right. One thing that this particular deck will teach you as you are going through with it is how to trust your intuitive voice, because a lot of the interpretation that you have as you're reading from this deck, it will be your own. It will be your intuition shining through. It will be your inner voice. And so this deck, step by step, helps you trust those messages. So if you are a beginner and you're learning how to kind of tap deeper into your intuition, again, I would recommend this deck because the messages that come out, it is going to surprise you, but over time you're going to learn how to trust. It's that trust building exercise that this particular deck does as well. And of course, if you are an experienced reader, then I think that the experience of tapping deeper into your intuition, of kind of understanding how your thought process is working, how your subconscious is working, yeah, that also is it's a very eye-opening and beautiful experience altogether. Overall, I think that this particular tarot deck is a very, very good one for one's collection. If you are studying symbolism, again, would highly recommend. If you're teaching tarot, I would highly recommend. If you're learning tarot, again, I would recommend. If you want to kind of dig deeper into your subconscious, I would recommend this particular book. It's a very thought-provoking one, and it's definitely enlightening as well, because kind of makes you stop and think, okay, well, how am I connecting this symbol to the question that I've asked? Or how does this symbol connect to my subconscious? So that way it's very, very enlightening. Things that are hidden from you are just put forth. So that is why I would recommend this deck if you are looking for a deck that is a good companion and can actually show you exactly what you are thinking on the inside. Now, a few ways that you can use this deck, I would definitely say reflective journaling. I mean, given that it is your inner dialogue that's being put on the table right in front of you in the form of these elements, and your interpretation of those elements, your interpretation of that symbol, how it connects to you in that moment of time, yeah, reflective journaling would be good. I would also kind of say that if you want to study deeper about tarot, or like you want to understand symbols a lot more deeper, then I would again recommend this particular deck. Overall, I think that it is such a valuable tool for personal growth. And if you are in particular going into self-awareness, like that journey, I would recommend this particular deck. All right. So this is where I will leave you for the review for today. I really hope that this review gave you a good starting point to see if this deck is a good fit for your collection, for your needs at this particular time. All right. Thank you so much for watching all the way up until here, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.